Today is part 4. I'm going to cover the free session strategy. This is something that I did not make up. I want to give that disclaimer. This is something that the industry has been using for a long time and it still works. So if you have everything else in place, this should work for you. If it's not working for you, then that means you just got to keep working on it, get better at the whole strategy. But I'm going to cover the overall picture of what this needs to look like. And the idea really, I mean, before I even go there, the idea really is you're going to give people a free strategy session with you, and you're going to provide some value. And after that session, you're going to offer them to join your VIP program. So it's not going to be a sales call. It's going to be you actually giving them a taste of what you do on a one-on-one session and then making them that offer if it makes sense. It may not make sense. You may say, hey, you know what? I don't think this person's ready to work with me. They're too much of a newbie, or they're too far ahead and it's not, my program's not meant for them. And that's okay. But this is for you to figure out whether you want to work with them and for them to know and get to know you and trust you and say, yeah, I want more of what I just got. That's really the goal of that strategy session. So you're going to invite people to this session. So positioning what happens before the session? Some things to keep in mind is the session is a gift with real value. It's not a sales call, which is what I was talking about earlier. So you're actually going to go, I call it show your magic, meaning they're going to see you actually help them solve a small problem. Maybe it's figure out what problems they need to address. Maybe that's your magic. Maybe it's actually going through one thing specifically that they're struggling with. That's your opportunity for them to say, hey, you know what? I love how this person helped me and I want more of that. Now, also, as much as you may be tempted to do initially to offer this to a bunch of people, I want you to use a calendar system and limit only a few people a week or a few people a month, because you want people to value it. If you just say, hey, you know what, if 100 people want to talk to me this week, I'll take all of 100. I would not do that. I would limit it because I don't want people not to value your session. This is not something you're just giving away because there's no value. It's something that you're really gifting them because you will spend the time with them. So it should be only for a select few, and they should be pre-qualified before the session. So there's a few ways to do this. I would actually create one video at the very minimum where you're explaining your offer, where you're explaining, hey, this is what I'm all about, a little bit about your story, which, you know what, I think I'm going to cover more of that in the content model, but in the bonus. And you're saying, hey, and by the way, I'm launching a new program, but I'm looking for people who are a right fit because I want people to succeed in my program. So I want to qualify you and I want you to qualify me. If you're ready to test things out and see if it works out for both of us, if it's a good match, then jump in and schedule a session. But before you schedule a session, they need to be pre-qualified. So you don't lead them to your calendar, you lead them to an application. They got to fill out a form. And then it's not what's their name and email, that's already obvious, but you got to learn something about them before that call so that you're better prepared for that call and they're better prepared for that call. So how do you come up with what questions to ask in that form? If you go back a few weeks back, I covered how to learn more about your client, your ideal client. I talked about journeys quite a bit actually, and the progress that they're going to make, that transformation they're going to make, and how to understand what part of the market you're serving. And I talked about measuring journeys, measuring where they're at in different aspects of their business or their personal life. And so you got to come up with, what am I going to measure? What do I want to measure to get to know them better before they're on a call with me? And I'm giving you some examples on the screen, may or may not apply to you, but these are the things to pick up from. And then based on those, you're going to come up with questions that are qualifier questions. And I'll give you a few examples of these. Like the first question, everybody or most people include a question like this. You want to know, are they coachable or not? So this is a sample question you want to put in that form. And it goes, how willing are you to apply what you will learn in coaching to your situation? If you don't call yourself a coach, if you call yourself a consultant, whatever word you want to use in there. But that's an example of measuring the coachability. And the first one, the way these are structured, 2 and 3 should be people you do want to work with. And number 1 and number 4 should be people you don't want to work with because they're outside of the spectrum that you decided makes sense for you. One could say, I know that I'm reading number 1. I know that I'm doing all I can already. There's nothing more I can do. Hello, they're not coachable, right? Probably not someone you want to work with. Unless You want to work with someone who's resistant and that's your focus, and that's different. But I'm assuming for this example, 2 and 3 are the best choices. Someone that says, I'm willing to try anything if I believe it will shorten this pain. Therapy is not getting the job done. This was a life coach, I believe, that I pulled this example from. Not getting the job done for me fast enough. Or 3, I've run out of ideas and I'm exhausted. I need someone to tell me exactly what to do. I need all the help I can get. So 3 is a little more ready. So somewhere between 2 and 3 are your ideal client. Number 4 is an example of someone that's too far on the other side of the spectrum. I realize that personal coaching is much faster, but I'm more comfortable with my therapist, counselor that I've been working with for years. Yes, so they are coachable, number 4, but they're so coachable that they already have a coach and they're happy with them, which is their therapist or counselor. So number 4 is a disqualifier. So you want to frame your questions in this way so that people can easily identify themselves. The other one is that's common is affordability. And affordability is you don't want to say, hey, do you have $1,000 a month to spend with me on coaching? That's not the way you ask it. You ask if they're ready. Usually, depending on what market you're after, most people can afford. If they have the problem, most people can afford your coaching. It's not about affordability. It's if their mindset is in the right place, right? So that's what you really want to figure out. If they really want to work with you, they can restructure some of the other expenses and figure out how to work with you. So it's not really an issue of affordability in at least in most markets, but or in some markets. But another example, what are you willing to do to improve your situation? How do you plan on improving your situation? Option 1, I'm broken beyond repair. I don't believe I'm worth the effort. You're hoping nobody answers 1, but if they do, that's a red flag. I feel really stuck, but I know that there has to be a way out, and I'm willing to invest in myself to find out. So they're willing to invest. That's affordability. Again, it's a mindset thing. It's not really not having the money. It's really the mindset. I need to find a way out, not only for me, but for my children and everyone around me. I think this is a lifestyle coach for women, but I know I'm worth investing my time and energy in getting myself back on track. Time and energy, usually I add the word resources in there, and resources is clue for money, which is what you want to see if they're ready to invest in themselves. My life is falling apart and I know it's up to me to fix it, but I don't have any time or resources right now to change it. So if they answer 1 and 4, that's probably not someone who you want to talk to. So if they've answered a lot of 1s and 4s in that questionnaire, then you it's okay for you to message and say, hey, I'm not sure it's the right place for us to meet right now. You might try XYZ. So these are 2 examples. I recommend having 5 or 6 questions like these in the qualifier form before you actually get on the call with them one-on-one. You can think about it. If somebody answers number 3, because that's the one that makes sense, not only are they a good candidate, but they're telling themselves while filling this out, hey, I need to be ready to invest my time, energy, and I would add resources to that in getting back on track or resolving my pain. They're already programming themselves that it's what they need to be doing to solve their problem. So it not only is it you learning about them, it's also them getting in the right mindset. So definitely before you meet with them, again, a video inviting them, making sure they know that this is a limited time gift, qualifying them with this form, and then you can send them over to a calendar to book an appointment with you. So during this session, okay, they already fill out the form. They booked the call with you. What do you do in the session? I talked about this earlier. It's very important that this is a real session. This is not simply a sales call. You got to show your magic. Give them a small win, solve a small problem, even helping them understand their problem and what needs to be resolved or the steps that they need to take. That's already a small win. It's a major win, actually. But if you don't have this step, you will get a no when you offer them your coaching because they haven't seen your magic. It's a two-way street. I think I told you this before. They have to like you and how you help them, and you have to like them and let them know that. So you could tell them that at the beginning and say, hey, look, this is just a way for us to get to know each other. I want you to see how I can help you. And if you like what I do, we could talk about working together. And also I got to make sure that it's a right fit. I wouldn't want you to waste your time if it's not a right fit. So they got to know it's a two-way street. It's got to be a mutual thing, right? And when you do realize that, hey, I do like this person, I think we're a right fit, I think I can really make a difference for them, let them know that this is why I think we're a good fit. I think you're motivated. I think you're ready. I think you're ready for a change. I think you're hardworking. What made them a good candidate? Let them know that, because that will also help you with the close. There's so much I could probably do 10 hours on this one session and ideas, but just want to give you the gist of it. One thing that always gets people here is whenever you hear the objection, I would say most objections really are not objections about you. If they say, hey, I got to talk to my husband, I got to talk to my wife, or let me think about it, or send me some material, or blah blah blah, all the objections they normally give you, assuming it's a right fit, right? Assuming the first two have happened, and both you've shown what you could do and they are a good fit for you, you like them, they like you, then most times you get a bunch of made up objections that are not the real thing because they don't believe in themselves. It's not about you. If you're selling a VIP fitness coaching program, it may not be about them not believing you can help them. It may be they may not believe they got it in them to actually follow through. They may think, no, you know what, I really can't. I'm not sure if I'm ready to follow a workout program or to follow a nutrition program. And I think I'm going to fail. So they're not questioning your expertise. They're questioning themselves. Most times that's where objections are coming from. It's not they need to see more stuff or they need to, no, that's all. It's not. It's just something they're making up to get for a chicken exit. It's they really don't believe in themselves. So if you really detect that, if you get that feeling from them, ask them: is that, do you think you can pull this off? You think you can follow through with the program that I'm talking about? Well, yeah, but I'm not sure actually. It's a lot of work. You got to work with them and see where does that come from. And I know you're not a therapist and you're not a life coach unless you are, then that's different. But hey, you got to do a little bit of that, because if they believe in themselves, then they'll work with you and you'll help them and they'll have a win, and they'll see a transformation working with you, and it's all good. But if they don't believe in themselves, they're not going to move forward. Some other tips: a lot of the times charging is not really related to what your value is. A lot of the times, if the market dictates, hey, this is a coaching program that should be $1,000 a month, and the market's used to that, a lot of the times you may be uncomfortable charging that, but it's not about the value not being there. It's about you not feeling comfortable with who you are, you having self-doubt. One way to resolve that is to start a little low. I mean, if your program's 1,000 a month with your one-on-one coaching, the group, a membership, and all that, whatever the amount of 500, 2,000, whatever it is, right? Don't be afraid to start too low and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to give you a deal. You're an early bird or whatever. You're part of the founding group. I'm going to give it to you at 800 a month. It's okay to do that. You might be more comfortable at 800, but you get the close. And guess what? The next person you're on the phone with, you can say, hey, by the way, and if you join, you're also gonna join Mary or Joanne that also, and a little bit about them, and they're gonna be part of your group. I think you guys are gonna click well together. It'll give you more confidence. So maybe by the next call, you'll charge full rate. So it's okay to start a little. I would not do this too often, but if you feel you need that to build up your confidence, then that's okay. The other point is, if you have a suspect, what's a suspect? Someone you suspect may like you, or you may like them, and you're afraid that, hey, look, if I ask for the close right now, I'm going to get a no. Book a second session. Okay, and let me give you this right now. This is something most people who are really good in sales will tell me, Renee, you're crazy. Don't do this. And they're right. Because if you're really good in sales and you're really good at closing, you should not need a second session. But if you don't like selling and you're fairly new at it, it's okay to have a handicap and take one more session. If you say, hey, look, looks like we're working well together, I really want to make sure we're a right fit, assign them some homework and say, can you work on this part of what we talked about? Let's meet again and we'll talk about how we'll keep working together. It's okay to do that. If that relieves your stress and frustration and anxiety about getting a no, by all means, do some of that, especially when you're brand new. It's okay. Guess what? The more magic they see from you, the more likely they're going to say yes anyhow. So it's better that they get another session than you getting a no because you're a little uncomfortable. And yes, sessions are inefficient. So they're the most inefficient way to sell a program. When you've been around the block a few times and you've had a lot of programs sold and a lot of case studies and a lot of stories, then you will sell this a different way. And you're going to have a webinar, or you're going to have some sort of complex funnel to sell this. But right now, you are the best at selling your program. No funnel is as good as you. The only problem with that is that, hey, it is going to take a few people, one or two or three people, to actually get a yes. So it's not the most efficient way to do it, but it is the best way to do it, especially when you're starting out. So something to keep in mind if you feel like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this. You're going to do this, especially if it's your first or second program. And eventually, with more case studies, you're going to get some referrals. You're going to get people coming back and renewing with your program. It's going to get easier, and you won't have to do any of this, or just a few of these, and it'll get much easier. So it's something to keep in mind for sure.